Hey, my fans, and welcome back. So, something pretty wild just happened in New York City, and it's getting a lot of attention across the country. More than a dozen Democratic elected officials, yes, actual lawmakers, were arrested inside a federal building that houses IC, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And this wasn't just a random protest or stunt. It ties directly into a larger fight over immigration, transparency, and even the question of who really has the power to hold government agencies accountable. Let's break it down together. So here's the scene. The building in question is 26 Federal Plaza in Manhattan. If you're not familiar, it's where ICE processes migrants, with short-term holding cells and immigration courtrooms inside. This place has already been under heavy scrutiny, with lawsuits over overcrowding, sanitation, and even how long people are kept there without proper access to a lawyer or even a working phone. Just one day before these arrests, a federal judge actually ordered IC to reduce the number of detainees, improve cleanliness, and expand access to phone calls for legal counsel. So, naturally, people wanted to see if that order was being followed. Enter Brad Lander, New York City's comptroller, along with a group of about 10 other lawmakers. They went into the building, identified themselves as elected officials, and tried to access the 10th floor where the holding cells are. But what happened next is where things took a dramatic turn. They spent about 20 minutes knocking on the door, only to find it blocked, and according to Lander, the door was literally tied shut with wire and duct tape. He later said, "You cannot tie the door shut," which honestly sounds like something you'd expect from a movie, not a federal building. What would you have done in their position? Do you think they were right to push forward? Eventually, DHS officers told them to leave. The officials refused, saying they had a duty to inspect the conditions inside, especially since there was now a court order demanding changes. That's when things escalated. DHS arrested them and charged them with obstructing entrances and corridors, misdemeanor offenses. And it wasn't just inside the building. Outside, more officials, including New York City's public advocate Jermaine Williams, joined protesters in blocking the IC garage, which is where vans usually move detainees in and out. He ended up getting arrested too, charged with blocking vehicle traffic and failing to disperse. In total, according to Lander's office, more than 75 people were arrested in connection with the protests that day. Now, this is where it gets interesting. DHS called the whole thing a stunt, accusing Lander of attacking law enforcement and pointing out that the building was already on lockdown because of a bomb threat earlier that day. But the officials themselves say this wasn't about theatrics, it was about oversight. They argue they were fulfilling their duty to the public by checking whether ICE was following the judge's orders. So, here's a question for you. Do you think local and state officials should have the right to inspect federal facilities like this? Or should that power remain limited to Congress? Legally speaking, that's one of the central issues here. Members of Congress are allowed by law to inspect detention facilities, but state and city lawmakers don't automatically have that same authority. That's why ICE has denied local officials access in the past. But if a federal judge orders changes to a facility, shouldn't someone be able to walk in and verify compliance? Otherwise, how can we be sure those changes are actually happening? This whole incident also ties back to the bigger immigration debate under the Trump administration. Since coming back into office, Trump has made strict immigration enforcement one of his top priorities, detaining more migrants, limiting asylum, scaling back refugee resettlement. On the other side, Democrats and immigrant rights groups are demanding transparency and humane treatment for people being held. The clash we just saw in New York is basically that larger battle playing out in real time. And politically, this raises the stakes. Arresting elected officials sends a strong message, but so does a group of officials risking arrest to make a point about immigrant rights. For voters, it could spark stronger feelings on both sides. Some may see the officials as heroes standing up for vulnerable people. Others may see them as grandstanding and interfering with law enforcement. How do you see it? Was this a brave act of accountability, or was it over the line? Looking ahead, there are a lot of open questions. Will IC actually follow through on the judge's orders? Will these misdemeanor charges against the officials stick or get dismissed? Could this lead to new legislation at the state or even federal level, giving local officials more authority to oversee detention facilities? And maybe the biggest question, Will this set a precedent? If local officials keep getting blocked, do we end up seeing more of these confrontations in other cities? At the end of the day, this isn't just about one protest or one facility. It's about a larger issue that cuts to the heart of democracy. Who gets to hold powerful agencies accountable, and how do we make sure court orders aren't just words on paper? So, what do you think? Should elected officials have more access to federal detention centers? Do you believe these arrests will change anything, or will things continue as usual? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this story. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to give the video a like, share it with someone who's interested in immigration and government accountability, and of course, subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world. Until next time, take care and stay curious.